Alright, what's up guys? It's Prince. So, Sokovan, Thundertoes, and myself participated in Rayquaza Cup number 13 again, and while we didn't place very highly this time, we seemed to run into a little bit of bad luck, but that's alright. We've been benefactors of the other side of that same luck in the past, and it's always nice to be humbled. We still got some really good games, and I want to showcase two of them in particular, because they were against some really good players. Another 3-stack whose clan name is WCMD. I wish I knew what these clan names stood for, or that other people could tell that this US in front of our name stands for usual suspects. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is I want to show off some of these really good games that we got against this trio. So our goals were very similar to other Rayquaza Cups, where we want this jungle Blaziken and we want this bottom lane Venusaur, and just like the last two times, we're a little bit iffy on what the ideal tank is. In the past, I've used Umbreon because he was considered the best defender, and I've used Crustle because he was my personal best defender. But this time, I was using a lot of Snorlax. This is a Pokemon that I was practicing quite a bit, and the idea behind Snorlax was recently Block and Yawn, and also Flail for the record, not that it matters for my case, were all buffed. And so he's even better than he was, not to mention when Resonant Guard came out, he got a lot better. This was a few months back. And so his early game is really strong, and that's important because Venusaur needs 2 evolutions, my lane partner, and so we wanted to pair up something with not the greatest laning phase with something with really good laning phase. And so that's the idea behind the Snorlax here. Also, he's very difficult to counter. Sometimes if I pick Crustle too early, the opponents can go Charizard, they can go Tyranitar, they can go Umbreon, and those are all really good into Crustle. But Snorlax, there isn't something that you just automatically pick and fold the Snorlax. So that's the difference between what we're picking here. And of course, unfortunately, we were dealing with a very recent weakness policy nerf, so Sokovan, while not necessarily experimenting with more Pokemon, though we will get to see more Pokemon played this RayCup from him, he's more so experimenting with different items, and it kind of sucks that the nerf happened so recently before this Rayquaza Cup. Otherwise, we would have had more practice and had a better idea of what we wanted our item set to be. Anyway, this is the second game in the Rayquaza Cup. We actually had the same exact partners in the last game, and they also went to the top lane, and they were on Goodra and Comfey, and they were very self-sufficient up there, and we won that first game. So this is the second one right here, and we're going with Glaceon Umbreon in the top lane. Not the most conventional lane, but that's alright, we can make it work. One thing that I didn't love is that Hinata here doesn't equip the EXP share, which is so free on Umbreon. I really don't vibe with that decision, but their item set is quite good. It very much looks like they are foul play Wish here. And we got in this habit of spamming I've got your back as a as a way to get ourselves pumped for the match. So here we go. Right off the bat, we can see that Fizzy, Minty, and Neon have gold ribbons across all 3 of their Pokemon. We didn't know this at the time, but these players are extremely experienced, to the point where some of them have well over 10,000 games played on Unite. So very experienced players. In terms of matchups, so we can see they have a tank, but he's kind of thick. He's kind of a late scaling tank that doesn't always want to be using the experience share. We have a Sylveon, not entirely sure which one that's going to be, just judging by the X speed. We have a Dragapult, which if it's the jungler, it can be pretty good, but it doesn't have a very good laning phase. And then we have Cinderace and Garchomp, who are not part of the trio, they're a duo, they're a 2-stack. And Urban Goose does have a green ribbon on the Garchomp, but they do need a lot of levels, so our early game could threaten to be better than theirs, is what we're noticing. So we're going to see who ends up in what lane, and then we'll take it from there. So we're going to skip past some of the laning phases here. Oh, I switched over to Crustle and I completely forgot to comment anything about that. I was so busy talking about Snorlax, and only for me to not be playing Snorlax this game. So I secured that with a Fury Cutter, and it does seem that they're running with Goomy and Dreepy. Real quick, before I forget, I believe the reason that I took Crustle was because we took Umbreon top path. Let's see, they had a Garchomp, Sylveon, Honestly, I think it was Sockman that said that Crustle looked pretty good here, and I know that they didn't have access to the Umbreon because we had Umbreon at some point, or we were going to get it, and so Crustle is my main. I decided to play it here, and they're pressing a little bit high into us. So here I try to go for the Dreepy. I give myself up here, but Thundertoes is able to land his Razor Leaf, so that goes pretty well there. We lose the XP share user, whereas they lose their Dreepy that we don't want scaling on us. So I'm coming back relatively close to the time that Sockman will be ganking our lane here. So here we're getting the Indeedee. And Sockman does secure that Indeedee along with the Gumi, which is really nice. And this Balto should be able to get us our 4 and 5. And now we're looking real good here in this lane. Dreepy is not a very good... First, Dragapult isn't a very good Pokemon in my opinion. And especially in lane, man, this Pokemon is terrible. So Gumi makes up for it a little bit. And of course, these players are extremely experienced with these picks, as indicated by the gold ribbons. But we outsecure them there again, and it's really showing the level differences here. They're frantically trying to kill one of us because they know we're worth quite a bit of XP. But we're able to push them away. They can't touch us yet. We have to be very cognizant of the fact that the 8-minute birds in the center of the map will be spawning in 10 seconds. So we decide to abandon the Indeedee that's going to come up in the bottom there and head straight mid, and hopefully our teammates do the same. So I'm going to put up a rock where I am guessing that they will be rotating from, and we secure all of these birds here. Looks like they finally got their Sliggoo. I'm going to put a rock right here, escape, and of course we have our Venusaur because of how much XP we've been getting by winning the bottom lane so hard, and that is one of the risks. Put a wall there just to stop the Sylveon from chasing. That is one of the risks of taking Dragapult into the lane, is that if you start losing, you're going to get outscaled really, really easily. So the early game was won very easily by our side, at least here in the bottom lane. It was a little bit of a different story on top lane, which I was hoping wouldn't be the case, because Umbreon and Glaceon, while their laning isn't incredible, I would have liked for them to have beaten at least a Gabite and a Scorbunny. So this was a little bit unfortunate that I X-Scissor upward instead of downward, because I missed the Sylveon, and then I also missed what I was trying to shoot at before. And this is pretty bad, because we have a lot of levels that we could be giving up. Sockman's taking a big risk diving here, and of course, I think he was expecting a little bit of follow-up, and I was retreating because my health was low. This was a moment of really poor communication from our end. Venusaur is good at defending, but he's not good at tanking hits, so he might go down there too. And I do believe he does before I get there, which is awful. Because when you have a lead, you give up more points to your opponents when they kill you. And now they score 30 on us. This is really, really bad. Cinderace stays out of my range the entire time of my rock wall. I can't get anything. So I turn around and I hit this farm. We're trying to recuperate our losses. We lose the objective up top. We lose the objective at... Oh no, sorry. It fooled me in game and it fooled me again. The Regirock secured the Dragapult, not the other way around. Sockman actually secured that. So, who was that? Fizzy on the Dragapult? Yes, he was trying to sneakily rip that, but Sockman came down, dealt enough damage to him, and secured the objective, which is about the only positive thing that's been happening throughout the mid-game so far. We've been getting dealt a lot of blows. I get killed over there. They might be crashing this goal again. So we kind of dropped the ball a little bit, which is what can very, very easily happen in a game like Pokemon Unite. The game is designed to be like this. It's designed to where any little slip-up by the team who's ahead causes the experience of the lower team to skyrocket. And so we're getting punished a little bit by those mechanics, and that's kind of bad, because the opposing team has even better late-game scaling than we do, with a Dragapult, a Goodra, a Garchomp, Cinderace. So this is not good. Fizzy scoring 1 there kind of makes me believe that he was stacking, which just feels awful on Dragapults, but in case you guys don't know, if you score 1 point on a goal, it's actually worth 0 XP. You need to score at least 2 for the experience to matter at all. The opponents are doing a really good job of keeping all of the XP off of the map here, so I'm aiming to put up a wall, hoping that no one was there. so that they couldn't come in and stop us from scoring. Somebody was there, but it was the... I don't remember what the middle evolution of Dragapult is called, but he did not last very long with no retreat into the berry options. Here I'm going to try and catch things in my Rebel Rouser. No guarantee, these guys are really slippery. But we did get one of them. We got the squishy one. We're going to try and get in another KO, and I believe we do get Minty on the Goodra here. Yes. Unfortunately, the Verdant Anger fails to deal too much damage to them there. And, oh man, Sylveon's Unite here was killer for us. We might have had it if that Fairy Frolic hadn't come out so in such a timely manner. Does Garchomp... Oh, he wipes our teammates up there. So, we never really got a full team rotation any more than 3 this entire game. The Glaceon and Umbreon really never showed up at the bottom lane here. And I guess I can't blame them too badly. Like I was saying, this is not our first game in the Rayquaza Cup with this duo. And last time, they stayed at top path the entire game as Goodra Comfey, and the game went quite well. So, if I were them, I would also think, hey, why not run back the strategy that worked so well for us last time? But this time, they are getting run through, and unfortunately I jumped too far there, but we are able to stop them from scoring, pick up the XP from the Garchomp and from the Cinderace, which is not too bad, but we need more. We really need to show up to the Ray fight not under-leveled, because otherwise we're going to be toast. We're already losing the score game pretty badly. And here you can see our Glaceon and Umbreon going toward the bottom goal. I don't love that. I think they really want to get their scores off. They're not stacking. I think sometimes players get in this habit of seeing a vulnerable goal and thinking that they need to score on it, when honestly, if you wait until the Rayquaza, to the right moment, you can score 100 points on that goal. And it's sticking out like a sore thumb. The jump pad doesn't get to it. So those are really hard to defend, so sometimes it's not that big of a deal to have those goals up, but some players really don't like seeing that goal up when we could easily push to try and take it. I don't know. Anyway, they do get a score of 40, which is pretty big. Oh, Neon was so slippery on that Sylveon this game. There were a lot of moments where if we had touched them with our attack, they would have died, but they just moved in such a way that we didn't predict where they were going. And now it's already Rayquaza time. Luckily, all but the Umbreon have our Unite moves. My level's looking good at 12. For an XP share user, that is an acceptable level. I don't know why I'm farming this Baltoy. Maybe I was waiting for Thunder Toes. That 13 is huge on the Venusaur. So we are heading downward here. We're trying to catch them out of position, and they unleash some Unite moves on us, but we're going to unleash them right back and flip this fight very easily. That combo took out 2 of them. Now this Goodra doesn't stand a chance between 4 of us, so now there's only 2 of them left. It's an easy Rayquaza rip right here. So here's a Cinderace, debating where to put that wall. We do secure. They did have a chance to take that. Garchomp had been ripping it, but he couldn't do it fast enough for our team before our team showed up there. And so now we're going to put in our points. We were down by a lot, but I'm getting in 100 here, and Glaceon and Venusaur are both going to the bottom goal. Only one of them can score. Now, both of them going there does mostly guarantee that at least one of them gets that score off, but it also means that we don't get that third score, and when they go to defend that, both of them are going to die. So this is a precarious position. I put myself in between these 2 goals so I could quickly run to one or the other. Sokoven is defending this one. And the crucial part here is that all of the enemies are alive, as we see the Sylveon sneak up down here at the very bottom of the screen. But there isn't that much time for Venusaur to come back. So this is totally defendable. And we don't know how the enemy are pushing. So here we see Hinata on the Umbreon leave the goal, calling for someone to defend our goal zone, and they're going for another score. Interesting decision. So they're attempting to kind of be the final nail in the coffin. They're assuming, okay, if they push with all 5, probably at least 2, if not 3 of them are going to die before killing us. We're about to come back. They're going to get slaughtered, and then there's going to be no one to defend their goal for more scores. There's a little bit of logic to it, and I think we would have preferred for Hinata to stay and defend with the Umbreon, especially knowing with the hindsight of what goes on here, because this fight does not go in our favor. First, that's a good wall for me. Sokoven correctly retreats, but this tragedy of the X-Scissor and the Overheat just cannot be overstated. Sokovan charges an overheat here. He does this really, really clever play of moving to the very back of the goal, causing them to want to rush into him. But in doing so, in getting closer to the goal, they're going to run into his overheat. Whereas I'm thinking, I need to buy as much time as possible. I don't want anyone on this goal. So what happens is Sokovan charges an overheat, and I end up X-scissoring all of the opponents away from the overheat, causing them to take no damage. They unite here, they kill Sokovan. I X-scissor again. This was a fantastic 5% X-scissor, but unfortunately their HP bars are so high that I'm not doing enough. I'm going to get ripped here in the face of 5 opponents. Now Thundertoes jumps in here. He does catch them with a solar beam, but look at their HP bars. This is the most tragic thing I've ever seen. So in hindsight, Thundertoes is saying, if I hadn't jumped, if I had just let them score and defended the last goal, we would have been so fine. Over there, Hinata's almost got into their goal. We can see all 5 of them here. That Umbreon is going to score. But look at how many points there are here. 50, 50, 35, 47, whatever that number is with the 3 at the end. That's a lot of scores when they're all being doubled. So here, the Solar Beam hits really nicely, but this was our last line of defense. Glaceon is just now coming up, and they're getting a 100 score here, and they're all going to try and score up here. The Glaceon, unfortunately, jumps to the wrong place. It was too late, and now we eat all of these scores. If Hinata had not run to go counter score against them, we wouldn't have eaten all of this. We would have picked up at least 2 of them. But again, it wasn't the worst play I've ever seen. There was a logic following that Umbreon's play, and it's a shame that it ended up biting us so badly, because we should have had this game under control. After that Ray fight, the Ray fight went splendidly. We won the early game really easily. We lost the mid game, and then the end game was a masterclass by us. We isolated 3 of them, took them all out, secured the Rayquaza. It was just this final moment that this truly formidable team was able to make a really good push. A little bit of luck and a lot of skill from them, and congratulations, they took the win from us, and this was the usual suspects' very first loss in the RayCup. Now, I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a double feature, because as we queued up for the next game, well, who do we see but the WCMD crew, Minty, Fizzy, and Neon. We just faced this trio, and some of us were saying, uh-oh, these guys were really good, but I was thinking, no, I want this rematch. I want to play against teams like this. We should have won the first game, and I want to show the world that we are a formidable force ourselves. So I relished this chance to try and take a game back off of this trio. And this time, I can't tell for sure, but just like I explained before, we're highlighting all of the Pokemon we intend to pick. Darkrai's getting banned, Scissor's getting banned. So both of the 2 stacks in this team were a little bit on the newer side, as evidenced by the fact that 1 from each side just failed to ban anything. So we might have to deal with Psyduck, at least from one side. Psyduck at this time, since I know Unite changes a lot. If you're watching this far in the future, this is not too long after Psyduck's release, and he's pretty overtuned. But he is a supporter, so it's a little bit subtle. But the competitive players do tend to agree he's pretty overtuned. Darkrai did just receive a nerf. However, Dark Void is still very powerful and can put people to sleep for a really long time. And of course, Minty and Fizzy are locking in their typical Goodra and Dragapult picks. We're expecting a Sylveon from Neon. So it looks like we are going to see my Snorlax this time around, and we are, instead of the Blaziken, going to see a Leafeon. This is in response to Jybite and Kaibite, I believe is how those usernames are pronounced, picking all-rounders, and feeling that we don't need 3 all-rounders, Sokovan goes a Speedster, since, after all, that could be very punishing into Fizzy's Dragapult. And now they have another Gengar. Another Speedster, I mean, not another Gengar. Another Speedster that Sokovan could assassinate, because Speedsters are known to be squishy. The Speedster versus Speedster matchups are they tend to be pretty skill-intensive. Not just mechanically, but also with spatial awareness, knowing when to reveal yourself, when not to, how to wait for cooldowns. And so we're feeling pretty good here. Leafeon is not great into this Metagross pick, but we're not feeling too bad about it because Venusaur can output a lot of damage, so that's going to be our answer to the Goodra and the Metagross here. All in all, I do like the sets our allies have. I don't love that they're laning together without an XP share on their team, but maybe that's just me being too much of a stickler when it comes to the meta in competitive. I mean, no XP share in lane happens all the time in solo queue, and players just know how to move around it. I am a little bit scared for this Charizard, not known to be the greatest early game character, but their items look quite good. I am a big fan of the scope lens. Not the biggest fan of the potion, but we'll see how it goes. So right away, this starts off pretty standard in terms of laning phase. And we're going to find out if we're up against Gumi and Dreepy in the bottom lane, just like the last game. Very clean combo there with the Razor Leaf and Tackle. We get here, and I think that was Neon on the bottom lane this time. Yes, we are laning against the Gumi and the Sylveon this time. Which we almost get the KO. Yes, I believe we KO Minty here. Gumi's pretty darn tanky. He almost got Snorlax down to 0 HP there, but it's not quite as good of an early game Pokemon as Snorlax is. And so we're able to flip that, especially with Sylveon's Eevee being one of, if not the weakest of the 5 Eevees in this game. This is also my team member US Lakshmi's main, and I have a lot of experience laning with Sylveon. If you can pressure that Eevee early on, there is not a lot they can do to answer. Whereas something like Espeon's Eevee and Umbreon's Eevee, they have a lot of tools in their kit. So here we get ganked by the Hunter, which I was not expecting. Sakaven goes Solar Blade here. Solar Blade plus, I want to say it's Leaf Blade that he uses in that combo. Sakaven is like this innovator when it comes to Leafeon. He's always slightly ahead. And I don't know, his Leafeon is always like counter to what the meta is. So he was one of the first people that was on Solar Blade, and then Solar Blade became really popular. He was one of the first people on Razor Leaf, and then Razor Leaf became really popular. He was one of the first people on Aerial Ace, etc., etc. Nowadays, Razor Leaf Aerial Ace is the play, and Sakaven's been feeling a little bit more comfortable on Solar Blade as of late. However, after this game, we did reflect on the fact that Sylveon gets a lot more slippery when your Solar Blade is telegraphed like that. And we will get to see Neon have some really interesting plays here with this Mystical Fire Sylveon that make him just as slippery as he was last game. And Sakaven and I both think that maybe Razor Leaf was a little bit more suited here. Also, by the way, check out that Solar Beam real quick. So this is one of my favorite plays in the tournament right here. Sylveon is trying to kill the Venusaur, trying to stay out of sight. He dashes higher than the Solar Beam's going, and the eject button slays the Sylveon anyway. Super cool play from Thundertoes. It's so unfortunate that KTK Sun was right there to finish off the Venusaur. We would have gotten away with murder there. But anyway, life goes on. So here we are trying to get one back on the Metang. He's a little bit too tanky and runs off into the jungle. I want to just stay and start securing farm, especially since the lane birds are about to come up, 720. We're trying to catch this Haunter off guard. We can't kill him, but we at least leave him with too few HP so that he can't safely take another attack. Secure a lot of birds there, but sadly I get KO'd. Thundertoes is back, so those Solar Beams and Sludge Bombs are going to be really key. Oh, yeah. Speak of the devil, it's 2 kills picked off by 1 Solar Beam. And then there's the third. Alright, so I wasn't there panning over to see how Thundertoes got that kill, but that was really big, because then we can start scoring on this goal, and more importantly, getting those Leafeon stacks. Sakaven was saying earlier this game that his attacks were feeling a little bit too weak, he was missing too many of those stacks. That is one of the problems with stacking as the jungler. But now he's got at least like 4 or 5, so we're sitting pretty now. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I don't love taking block. I think block is the preferred move on Snorlax in competitive right now. I much prefer Yawn. Here I had to retreat from my teammates. Hopefully I called it out. We were having a little bit of problems with communicating relevant things based on what we could predict was necessary information. Shame we couldn't break the goal, but we have such a lead here, I don't think the opponents will come to contest this. They already took top, which is unfortunate. We should have Regice secured. We have Solar Beams here. I think the Solar Beam had barely not gotten it. I think we Solar Beam Heavy Slammed and Thunder Toes got it with an auto attack. I might be wrong. It might have been the Solar Beam that killed, but I think that's what I had seen based on the delay. So here it's all about maintaining that level lead, trying to secure all of this farm, making sure our opponents do not get this farm. That is the one good thing that came of not breaking this goal, is now if we continue to hog all of this farm and not let our opponents take it, they can't just retreat to their catch-up XP, because they have no Indeedis on their side of the map because we haven't broken this goal. One of my favorite things I love doing as Snorlax is ejecting to take their berry, because berries deal extra heal regeneration to Snorlax. Neon was the bane of my existence on this Sylveon. He's just dancing around us and we cannot hit him. See, Jan set up a great Solar Beam there, but Sylveon is tanky enough to not be one-shot by any single attack, so we need a combination of things. We finally decide to take their goal with a big enough overscore. And right at around that time, they are taking our top goal. So everything looks pretty even. Luckily, they've got our teammates' catch-up XP, so they're going to work on that while we wait for something to tell us where to go. That was a beautiful combo. So not only is Snorlax synergistic with Venusaur in the early game, but we also really like this because Heavy Slam bounces opponents straight up, giving them no chance to move out of the way. And even though they move upward on the map, their hitbox technically stays in the same place, so it's really easy to land Solar Beams. In contrast, something like Slowbro's Surf or Crussel's X-Scissor, they tend to move opponents away in a direction that could cause Solar Beams to miss. So this pair is really, really synergistic, and I've been having a lot of fun with Snorlax Venusaur bottom lane. So here I unleash my Unite move, the Power Nap, and it hits a lot of them, and it kind of carves a hole open in their line of attacks to where they don't want to come too close to me, so they had to stay behind, but we had already isolated them. And this leads to an opportunity to have an incredible push right here, breaking their top goal and therefore making Regieleki a lot more dangerous because it threatens to unload its ability onto the second tier goal. That could be catastrophic if we walk that and then destroy the second tier goal. But of course, the priority is always farm, maintain that level lead, do not give your opponents the level lead, do not let them catch up. It's important not to feed here. So Thunder Toes is already at the bottom. Usually when we're trying to push a Regieleki, Venusaur is super important for those pushes, because if the enemy wants to crowd around the Regieleki, Venusaur can tear them open with a combo of Verdant Anger, Sludge Bomb, Solar Beam. That is so much damage. It's enough to sometimes wipe out 3 or 4 players all at once. And because Venusaur was at the bottom lane, that kind of indicated, no, let's not push this. We have other things on the map to do. Let's just go pick up all of that experience, let them waste their time killing the Regieleki. So that's all we really bought there, is a little bit of time. And using that time, we secured the Regirock. And now we're going to kill... What was this here? It was Gengar and Gudra. And actually, they do really well this fight. Good lord. We do end up winning it, which is nice. But unfortunately, this WCMD team was up there just scoring away on our goal. And of course, the habits on this Dragapult, yet again, are making me think that this man is stacking on Dragapult, which is not something I see a lot on Dragapult. It takes a lot of nerve to stack on a Pokemon that fragile. Anyway, we are heading down here, just waiting for something to do, making sure we're moving as a unit, seeing if we can isolate anyone, pick them off, but being careful not to get picked off ourselves. See someone in the jungle after we're no longer there. We want some of their birds down here, but it's very important that we're able to retreat out of danger as well. I secure the Altaria. We notice that the Gudra has united. I might give myself up here. Yeah, there's no time to power nap. I believe my sentiment at the time was that I was trying to power nap, but I got crowd control and killed before that. But once I died, I realized how close to the Ray it was, and I'm actually kind of thankful that I didn't power nap there, because then I wouldn't have had it for the Unite, for the Ray fight. And now I decide to go into the jungle and farm. I really like being level 12 on my XP share tanks, and I can usually make it happen, but this time around I'm really low. And unfortunately, this Dragapult scores before I can get anything off on him. I'm trying to isolate him in the jungle, but I don't know if I'm going to get any help quickly enough. If we can take out this Dragapult, it's going to be really, really nice for our team. But the Dragapult's existence here makes me lose a lot of time. And while all of that was happening, I'm going to rewind a little bit to what was going on in the bottom lane that we can see on the mini-map, of course not the real screen. This is right as I'm chasing the Dragapult, and all of our team is pressed up there at the bottom lane. And Sokoven would reflect on this moment later, saying, I don't know, I was just trying to not leave our Charizard alone, but that was a really bad move. I shouldn't have done that. So over on this side, I got a lot of time wasted, so I didn't hit 12 until after the Ray spawned, which is pretty bad, because if the Dragapult had been well positioned, they had a lot of rip on that Rayquaza. We see that the Metagross wasn't there. So here we find the Goodra, and it sucks that it was the Goodra, because we can isolate and kill this target, but the Goodra is going to waste more of our time than if it had been anyone else. So we're going to try and crowd control here with the Yawn. Solar Beam narrowly misses, I think. I go into the three of them and zone with Power Nap, but everything was happening so fast, I didn't have time to process. Wait a second, where were we? We just jumped someone in the bush. Yes, we killed the Goodra, but we should have had a lot more damage. I hadn't realized that our team had just died at the bottom lane there because I was so distracted with the Dragapult and the farm and getting my level 12 and getting my Unite move. And all of a sudden, Sokoven finally comes back up, and we have sustained so much damage. Fortunately, that Solar Blade is going to miss here, and that is going to be the end of us. That unfortunate push right there at the bottom lane ended up kneecapping us pretty darn hard. And so, yet again, we make a little bit of a misplay. Our opponents capitalize on us. Having Leafeon in this fight could have been really, really nice for us, especially if he had gotten that flank. And of course, hindsight is perfect. And because Sokoven had played this game so well, he hadn't died a lot, so his death timer heavily punished him here. As you can see, Charizard and Buzzwole were already back in the fight before Leafeon even came back from the death timer. So, really well played to this team, WCMD, Minty, Fizzy, and Neon. And I did want to showcase these two games because they were... There was a lot of skill in these games. I especially really like that eject solar beam to kill Neon on the Sylveon, for example. But Neon was really, really slippery. And of course, all three of these players are exceptional at their picks. They have gold ribbons. They have thousands of games played. It was really, really nice going in and playing against this trio. I just wish that we had taken off a win off of them, but hopefully we at least pulled in some respect. We had really clear opportunities to win both games, in my humble opinion, and sometimes it just doesn't happen, but if we ever meet again, it'd be a really nice rematch. Anyway, the rest of the RayCup, our strategy worked fairly consistently, I would say. Of course, we ran into a little bit more bad luck than usual, but such is the way that life is. This video was really just to highlight this matchup of one trio against another in particular. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. I'll stop yapping now. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I might upload more things about the RayCup later. I might not. We'll see how this goes. Anyway, take care, everyone.